I'm so excited to have Alex on. She's my first official guest interview for the Kayla Brooks Show. And it's her officially like her first interview that she's ever done. So this is very, very fun. I'm very excited. It's a privilege to have you here, Alex, and to get to introduce you. Alex, her last name is Youngblood. She's the author of the Sweet Reset Protocol. And I found Alex in the comment section on Instagram, actually. It was of a keto guru's post, who I'm sure a lot of you have had exposure to if you're on the interwebs. And this guru was talking about how fruit is just horrible for you, and it's so much sugar, and it's what makes you fat, and it's, you know, it just demonizing fruit, which is hilarious. And I left a comment, I think, talking about, you know, show me one person that is fat and unhealthy from eating too many blueberries. And I had found Alex, who had made a beautiful post of just truth telling, or a beautiful comment under that post of just truth telling. So I immediately recognized her as like a soul sister in this mission, in this conversation around food, and just a voice of common sense and wielding truth in this battlefield of women's nutrition. Unfortunately, it can feel like a battlefield out there in this world. So quick introduction. Alex is a wife, a mother, a researcher at heart, who has walked through many a dieting matrix seasons, from vegetarianism to, as she mentioned, keto and carnivore, fasting, etc. And she's come out the other side of those seasons with a really deep conviction that women need more than the conversation that is limited to restrictive eating, really rules-based, scarcity-based, micromanaging, that sort of thing. So she created and wrote the Sweet Reset, which is a map for women who have found results and healing through low carb / kind of keto methodologies, approaches, but now recognize, or are starting to recognize, that that level of restriction is not sustainable for them. And so they're really coming to a crossroads where they're asking different questions, trying to get different answers, and are ready to restore their metabolic flexibility, nervous system safety, trust in their bodies, and really come back to freedom with food. So what I loved about her book, because she did gift me with a copy, which was I'm so grateful for, and I got to read it before we have this conversation today. And what I loved about it was we are very like-minded, so my gut was correct when I found you in the comment section. But her book does a beautiful job of reclaiming carbohydrates specifically as a safety signal for our female bodies and nervous systems. And we will talk a lot about that today. So it also shows women how to reintroduce those carbohydrates with confidence and structure, especially when you have been through, like she has, different seasons of dieting and restriction, trying different methods, kind of just like grasping at straws, trying to find, you know, the answer that works. And maybe you've gotten some good results with those methodologies, but like I said, they're unsustainable. So Alex is really passionate about bridging the gap between the survival adaptations that your body goes through and freedom with food. And so she wants to help women build a rhythm of nourishment that supports our hormone health, our body composition, our peace with food, and do all of that without swinging the pendulum into chaos and just free for all, or having massive restriction and really fear and scarcity based relationship with food. So I resonate so much with her message. It is one like mine of restoration, rhythm, and hope. And I cannot wait for you to hear her story, the wisdom that she has to share with us today. So welcome, Alex. Thank you so much for being here with us.
I'm honored to be your first guest on this amazing show. And I must admit, just like you, I was not familiar with your work, with your page. And scrolling for the last few days got me feeling the same as you. Like, we are so like-minded coming from two completely different backgrounds,
Yeah.
completely different trajectories in life, and yet we kind of reach the same point of truth recognizing, and now we're trying to tell that truth in our own
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. I love it. So, let's start a little bit with like a backstory. I know you go through it in your book, but for those of the audience who are here with us today live or watching the replay, let's kind of go from survival to safety and sort of set the stage for us of where you started, what your experience was with the different seasons that you went through before you got to your breakthrough moment.
Well, it's a 20 plus year old journey. Like any common sense person in my early 20s, right? In the 2000s, I was a vegetarian. I
Mhm.
was scared of red meat, scared of fat, scared of saturated fat, the regular health conscious philosophy, right? At the
Okay.
time. Um, I got pregnant with my daughter when I was 27, 28, and I was very lucky to have a beautiful, healthy pregnancy, beautiful, natural, unmedicated birth, not problems, any problems breastfeeding. It was very beautiful and very natural, and I was a very attached parent.
Yeah.
And very natural oriented parent, and yet when she was about 2 years old her enamel started decaying. I
Okay.
was it was a huge shock for me because, like I said, I had followed through and learned at the right times the right natural ways to bring a baby into this world, to nourish them and so forward. And I was so confused about why would her teeth react like this. She never touched a bottle or a pacifier in her life. That led
Mhm.
me on the path of understanding how nutrition and health get connected even in the womb, because of course what I realized is that I had been deficient in a lot of nutrients coming up to and during pregnancy, and I
Mhm.
had dreams about eating meat when I was pregnant. My body was screaming at me, please, please feed me, and I just ignored those things because of what I knew was healthy. I wanted to be a healthy mom, right?
Yeah.
That led me to the path of Western A Price and the Cure Tooth Decay book, the Western A Price Foundation, Nourishing Our Children movement, and I went straight into ancestral eating. I went to my mom because I was living at the time with my mom. I was a single mom from birth,
Mhm.
and I said, "Mom, pork chops right now." So when my daughter was really, really young, I started feeding her and feeding myself with the nourishing ancestral foods I had grown up with as a very young kid. Liver, fish, bring me the, pork jelly. I was born in Romania, by the way, and that's where I was at the time. So
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
clear where these weird foods come from. So during the first 5 years of her life, I was there, I was healthy, I had gained all this enlightenment through all these movements that bring us back to our ancestral roots when it comes to food and nourishment, and I was solid. And then I moved
Yeah.
to US. And I'm not saying that me moving to the US had me change my eating patterns completely. It was the circumstances of me being here and the hard life that I had to deal with, and I don't want to get into any of these
That's
particular,
okay.
um, you know, uh, story. Suffice to say, I had lost connection with myself, with my roots, with my body, with my anatomy, with my biology, and I went from 130 pounds to almost 200 in a span of 6 years.
Okay.
Now, this is 2020. I finally was able to free myself from the situation I was in, but I'm left overweight, inflamed, stressed, anxious, confused, not knowing what to do. I'm reclaiming my life right now. How am I going to reclaim my health? And in
Mhm.
2020, that led me straight to keto. That led me straight to low carb. And I
Yeah.
started everything you can imagine, from keto foods to fasting. I went through carnivore. I went through snake diet with fasting. Everything. I've done everything. And it took me many, many years. And finally, sprinkled into that, I met my current husband. We got married this March. But
Oh,
not, thank
congratulations.
you. Not even leading up to my wedding day was I able to lose the weight I wanted to. I
Okay.
was not a skinny bride, okay? And we're talking this March.
Yeah.
Now, after the wedding, something switched maybe in my psyche. Maybe I finally felt safe.
Hmm.
And maybe it was
Hmm.
a coincidence that led me to the Primal Bar program, but I finally was able to lose weight. So from March till July, I shed most of the weight I wanted to. I regained my health and my consciousness.
Yeah.
But this is the reason I was able to say, okay, my body was ready to let go, but is this it? Am I supposed to only eat meat for the rest of my life? There is no way that is okay. I've always
Yeah.
loved fruit. And I remember going to the grocery store for steaks and I was looking in the fruit section. I was thinking, I'm coming back for you. I don't know how, I don't know when, but I'm coming back for you.
Oh,
Yeah. So here I
yeah.
am. I am after about 14 weeks on the primal diet, I started reintroducing carbs, and
Mhm.
learning how to do that was something that it was personal and self-led, because there's nobody out there who tells you how.
Yeah.
And not unless
Yeah.
they charge you another $1,000. And I
Right.
I was not wanting to or able to financially to do that. And I said, I'm gonna find a way and I'm gonna show the way. So more women feel emboldened to escape from that very scarcity, very uh, just it's not a healthy mindset. The low
Yeah.
carb is not a healthy mindset. There's a better way, and I found it, and I'm very happy to share it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I 100% agree. And you reframed carbs. I mean, we're very aware that the mainstream narrative around carbs is extremely negative. I mean, carbs have been demonized for decades,
Correct.
and it's the first macronutrient that is cut from a woman's intake whenever she signs up for a fat loss protocol of any kind. Um, and what's so concerning is I've been in the fitness and dieting space for 17 years now, and I've seen different iterations of the low carb, no carb fear mongering within those 2
Yeah,
decades.
starting with
And
Atkins.
exactly, exactly. And I remember like my mom being on Atkins, when I was younger. So yeah, the different iterations, there's nothing new under the sun. It's just rebranded. And then the price is jacked up because the guru needs a cult following. And so I think that there's what I appreciated about your book is that there is truth to the keto, low carb, or even no carb, carnivore-esque, ancestrally aligned eating. There is truth there. But what I always tell my members is just because there is partial truth does not mean that it is going to set you free. The partial truth, the lies of omission in those approaches are really, really damaging to our psyche as women around our relationship with food and our relationship with our own bodies. For me, it really sets up blockages on allowing women to even understand the way that their own bodies, their own physiology
Hormones.
operates. Exactly what the downstream effects are going to be for that approach long term. And so I appreciated in your book how you framed the sweet reset protocol as something that is not just like a quick fix season. It's not another season for someone to necessarily just go through like a keto season, and that you actually the words that I use with my protocol is like you have to qualify for different seasons. And if you are not healthy enough metabolically, you shouldn't be going low carb. You shouldn't be going high carb either. Like both sides of that coin, you need to qualify for, right? So can you go in a little bit deeper onto how you have witnessed carbs supporting the hormonal infrastructure of the female body in your experience personally?
Personally, I actually do remember when I had my first fruit meal after about 4 months of no carbs. I actually sat down and I had an egg yolk with honey and half a cooked fruit. So I started really slow.
Mm-hmm.
Every single cell of my body ignited from the chest to my extremities. I feel every single cell like a tiny little explosion. I felt on my body how my metabolism just quick started just after a few bites. That was enlightening. That was almost like a spiritual experience because I had the intuition to sit down in the sun and then actually witness what was happening because I realized how important it was.
Beautiful.
So I think no matter what your approach is, it is already universally accepted that our human biology needs protein, fat, and glucose to properly function.
Yes.
Nobody is denying that we need glucose anymore because we know too much as a society. You will learn a lot from research, right? So now they're not saying we don't need it. They're saying we're making it. Our liver makes glucose, so you don't need it because dietary glucose comes with too many negative side effects. So don't worry about foods. Your liver takes care of it. That is their approach. We need it, but if you eat enough protein, your body will make it. If you low enough carbs, your body will make ketones, and you're gonna use the fat and the ketones and the glucose that you make yourself to perfectly function, and that's your optimal health. That is their side of the story.
Correct.
This side of the story is true. We do make our own glucose, but the processes, the hormones that are harnessed in order to do that are stress hormones. The fact that your body starts making ketones and glucose are survival mechanisms. Thank God we have them. We survive as a species thanks to them, right? But is it ideal and is it optimal?
Exactly.
And even if it is, can we find a way to introduce dietary glucose without the negative effects they're talking about? Even if they're right, it's not fun. So can we find a way to eat carbs in a healthy way? And that is my approach. First of all, I don't agree that the low carb metabolic and hormonal state is optimal, but that's another conversation. How do we get to eat all three from optimal sources with minimal side effects and by providing the most nutrient dense foods we can? And that's my approach. Because they will argue with you that there's preferable protein sources. They will argue that there's preferable fat sources, and they will say those are animal. And I agree. I actually agree. Every single food on the carnivore diet is food I eat every day.
Yeah.
My argument is if there's preferable sources for fat and protein, how come there is not for glucose?
Exactly.
But there are. There are preferable sources and they're terrible sources. And they always cling to those. And they say, yeah, you keep your Frappuccino, I'll keep my steak. I have steak and I don't have Frappuccino. How's that? How's that for plan C? Because there's an option C here nobody talks about, and I'm the one talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for those of you who aren't aware the process in the body that she's referring to when she says that, yeah, we do create our own glucose. It's called gluconeogenesis. And I've always said that gluconeogenesis is a phenomenal backup generator for our bodies. It is a feature of metabolic flexibility and it is a survival adaptation to low energy availability. And so I always phrase it as gluconeogenesis is a mercy, it is not a mandate. And what these keto carnivore gurus that have no space for nuance in the conversation around glucose that we're having is they lead with the survival adaptation somehow being optimal. And like you just said, this is run off of stealing stress hormones in our body. It is run off of a energy system that is going to convert from and steal from other resource banks in our bodies, like the reproductive system, in order to provide the energy that is lacking. And so it's sort of like, it's like the road of survival adaptations does not lead to the promised land of abundance, but that's what they want you to think it does. That's what they want you to think. And because most of the science and the research is done on men, not on hormonally cycling women who are naturally cycling, who do not have adulterated cycles from birth control or other interventions, they think that they can just slap that research onto women, carte blanche. The medical industry has done this for generations now. They just slap dosages and they slap research straight onto women from what's done in male bodies. And yeah, we are all human, okay? We are all Homo sapien, but there's a lot of difference going on between men and women, which I know that you really do believe and speak into. So just the state of perpetual chronic gluconeogenesis is what I take massive issue with. I think that it can be used strategically to help heal certain things, but it should not be the chronic state of like it's not this like utopian state that we should be holding as a goal, because it's not real true freedom. It's slavery. You're running off of a backup generator for your energy stores, not the primary sources like what you're talking about. We know what the optimal sources of protein are. We know what the optimal sources of fats are, but we don't even want to have the conversation around carbs. And I have to ask the question, like, who is benefiting from women being fearful of carbs? Like, I start to go into like my tinfoil hat, it's like carbs.
That's where marketing comes in.
Yeah, all the macros are so important, right? But if we're going to demonize carbs, it impacts women's fertility. And I see a lot there that we don't necessarily need to talk about today. We could talk about another time. But there's a big agenda there against fertility in the West, which makes me really sad.
I will say that there are probably going to be people commenting that there's studies that show and prove that the body adapts to gluconeogenesis. And the hormonal response diminishes with time. That is only if you're keto adapted.
Yeah.
So if your ketones are high enough to sustain the majority of energy that your cells need, that your body needs, so they feed on ketones, and then there's a very little need for glucose after keto adaptation. I agree. There's not going to be the same need for constant gluconeogenesis. But then they come in and they tell you to eat a lot of protein, which destroys that whole line of argument. Because after a certain threshold of protein consumption, you're constantly getting kicked out of ketosis because your body automatically goes into gluconeogenesis. So you have to be obsessively monitoring every single gram to make sure you're not too low on protein, but not too high on protein, not too low on fat, but not too high on fat. And then people know what actual processes take place in your body with each bite of food, because the calories and the energy potential of a food and what actually happens in your body and how your body translates that into actual ATP or energy that it uses, that's a whole different conversation. And we don't know. We don't have little cameras everywhere and little meters everywhere. And keto mojo this and protein that. It's just is. it's not, it's inhumane, honestly. The level of
Agreed.
micromanaging that is asked of us as women to perfectly fit into all these little research, wisdom nuggets to make sure we don't go that way and that way, it's inhumane.
Yeah.
It cannot be done healthily, it cannot be done properly, and it consumes you mentally, hormonally, emotionally. It's not worth it. And just eat an apple, please. Just eat a potato. You don't have to go to
Exactly.
McDonald's every day. You don't.
It's like the common sense has left the chat. If we have to be so obsessively tuned in to this small sliver of, not too much protein, not too little protein, because the other macro is demonized.
And what kind
Like,
of fat, and what sources of fat, and
exactly.
what sources of meat, and what about the mercury? What about the
I know.
factory farms?
Yeah,
Stop.
exactly.
Stop.
Let's navigate this and somehow maintain a hold on reality mentally and not have a psychotic break, right? And we wonder why women specifically are so distracted and so, like, the mental fatigue, the brain fog, all the things that these kinds of diets claim to be able to help you with.
Correct.
They're just channeling, they're like looshing your energy. They're channeling your focus away from everything in life that is actually valuable and of importance, and putting it into micromanaging your levels, your insulin response, your ketones, you know what I mean? Well, you do know what I mean, because you walked that road and you've set yourself free.
Yeah,
So
it's measuring your ketones every morning, measuring
yeah,
your glucose, and then figuring out why the glucose is so high. Oh, well, that's another conversation. It is going to be high. You're giving yourself insulin resistance and you don't even know it.
yeah,
On a low
exactly.
carb diet.
On a low carb diet. So then it's like, so you gave yourself insulin resistance on a low carb diet. What are you supposed to do from there?
Right, because you eat carbs and they don't feel good and you gain weight. Well, yes, you will. But
Yeah.
it's
So
an
then the
yeah.
automatic prescription is something like GLP-1s, or yeah. And then it's a whole, you're a customer of
That's
pharma
another
for the
type
rest.
of prison.
Exactly. So the carbs and hormones conversation is really, really important, I think, because that conversation, we are fighting against the mainstream, which is, we've established demonization of carbs, and tactics like, protocols like what you went through and that I've been through in the past myself are so center stage right now in the marketing matrix that women don't think they have another option. Everyone has been brainwashed to think that carbs are evil and that you have to cut carbs in order to lose weight. And we are so desperate to lose weight in the Western culture, especially. So it's super important, I think, that we talk about, and I want to give you the floor here to do this because you did such an excellent job of it in your book, the thyroid, the T4 to T3 conversion that needs to happen, and how all that relates and is intrinsically connected to your glucose availability and how the body works with that.
So yeah, we established that the hormonal responses of a lack of glucose in the body are stress responses. Your body stresses itself into kickstarting those backup mechanisms that are gluconeogenesis. First, it drains your muscles of glycogen. That's the step one. Then we go into the fat storage, and then we either consume the fat or we make ketones, because the brain doesn't work with fat. It needs ketones and a little bit of glucose. All this tells your body, you're not safe. You are starving. This is not a good time to make babies.
Yeah.
But it happens in men as well. It's not just for the reproductive organs of the women, but the state is the same. This is not a safe environment. So we're going to slowly try to take the metabolism rate down, and the hormones production, it goes down for the preservation goal. Your body tries to preserve life, slow down metabolism. Think of it as some kind of hibernation, right? It's
Yes.
slowing down of everything. And not only that, but it's going to take away resources from non-essential things. Your hair is going to fall out. That's the first step. Your menstruation is going to become unpredictable, problematic. You're going to have very short periods or very long. Like in my case, my last period on low carb was 11 days, and that
Ooh.
woke me up. That
Okay.
was the last straw. I had experienced other things that I can talk about. So yes, your body interprets this state of low abundance and low resource signals as a state of emergency. So it's not going to allow the state in which you're fertile, you're safe. It's exactly the opposite of that. So
Yeah.
women have told me, I have numerous people crying in my DMs about how terrible their thyroid blood work got on low carb, how they
Yeah.
cannot get their hair to grow again, how they're depressed, their skin looks terrible. And the answer is always going to be on that side. Eat more protein, more protein, more. That was like a spell, like a magic spell. Eat
Yeah.
more protein. Translation, it's your fault.
Right. And if we dig a little deeper, it's your fault that you're not eating enough. We acknowledge that you're not eating enough, but we're going to redirect you towards eating more protein, not eating more of what's actually going to heal you, because that doesn't fit within our cult narrative.
And that thing
we
is layered with you're weak. Right. Eat more protein is also layered with you're weak. You don't love yourself enough.
Right.
You need to meditate more. You need to go to therapy. Why are you sabotaging yourself? Meanwhile, your body is screaming, please give me what I need.
Yeah.
It is so sad to witness. It is so heartbreaking. And I've seen it firsthand over and over and over again, because I was deeply in it. And I saw how problems were solved, what these women were suggested to do, and the response of, I have the perfect diet for you. It's your problem if you're not properly implementing my rules. Get out of my face.
The gaslighting is just,
there's so many layers of why I left that side of the internet.
Yeah.
I don't want to give any names, and I don't want to. It's not even one program. It's not even one person. It's the whole movement and everybody that sustains it for financial reasons.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. You mentioned in chapter 2 that our bodies need somewhere between 100 to 130 grams of glucose each day.
That is just for function.
Yes,
not for physical activity, not for anything like that. That's your minimum that you can actually either get from endogenous glucose, or preferably from 2 apples and a carrot.
Agreed.
and a teaspoon of honey.
Yeah, exactly. It's so simple, right? So simple, the purest form. I was going to say, I think, I believe the research that I've seen shows that about 100 to 120 grams of that, the brain absorbs just like a sponge. So if you were on, girls, for those of you listening, it's like translating this into normal speak, so it doesn't sound like a different language. If you were just sitting on your couch, like hooked up to machines, doing all of your work for you, you didn't have to think about breathing. You didn't have to, you didn't have to feed yourself. If you just had an IV drip giving you 120-ish grams of glucose per day, that is going to barely keep you alive in that state for your brain to function, not for you to Yeah, not for you to be like hormonally optimized, not for you to have a bunch of energy to go live your life abundantly and happily and full of joy, not for you to build muscle and get stronger in your workouts and training sessions. Like none of that is part of the conversation. We're just talking about the basic bottom of the floor of what we're talking about for what you need is like 120 grams of glucose so that your brain doesn't shut off.
Right.
Okay. And
Granted,
I
that
can
is
tell
in
you,
the absence of ketones.
in the absence of ketones. And I can tell you the amount of times I have had women come to me who have been on protocols with 50 grams of carbs being their absolute limit, like their absolute ceiling. If they go above that, they're just a complete failure, right? And the goal is negative 100, you know, like how low can you go? How many ketones can you get? And that makes you a better person. It's astonishing and it's heartbreaking.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, I think the easiest way to go about what am I supposed to do
Mm-hmm.
kind of approach is just be aware of the minimum needs of your body. Make sure you use the most clean, fresh, nutritious food sources for those minimum, and then build from there. So we
Right.
said in the carbs, I would start with protein. 0.6 to zero point 0.8 grams per pound is perfect. You add more if you're physically active, if you're an athlete, if you're building muscle. But this is like the medium. I'm a lady on the couch watching Netflix and I'm gonna go to my 9 to 5 job tomorrow. What am I supposed to do? 0.6
Yeah.
to 0.8 protein. 2-to-1 carb to protein ratio. So let's say you're eating 100 grams of protein a day for your weight and physical activity. Multiply that by 2 if you want. 1.5 times at least, and you get your carbs. And for fat, the rest. Not
Yeah.
not lower than 20%, because then you go into hormone production and stuff. So just know the minimum, have a ballpark idea of where your energy requirements are. I
Right.
actually have a second book, The Blueprint, that is meant for calorie calculation for a weight loss diet, but we can go into that later. But you don't even have you have if you have a ballpark idea of 0.6 0.8 protein, twice as much carbs or more, and 30-40% fat. There you go. All you have to
Yeah.
know is what are the ideal foods to fulfill those needs are, and you're good. You don't have to do anything else for the rest of your life.
Yeah, seriously. It doesn't need to be more complicated than that. And I think where what I've witnessed being a major moment of freak out for most women is when they start doing that math and they start figuring out what their data is actually supposed to look like. They realize that 1,200 calories, 1,500 calories is not going to work. It's not going to fit the
Exactly.
amount of nourishment that they need. And so we have generations of women who have been brainwashed into believing that you are somehow more valuable if you fit into the 1,200 calorie club, who are now starting to wake up with all kinds of consequences to being a part of that club for a long time, and realizing, you mean I need to eat 1,800 calories at minimum? I need to
Yeah.
eat 2,100 calories. I need to be eating 2,500 calories. For me, it's like 3,100 calories. Wait, what? And it's relative to your height, your the state of your body's homeostasis, how much your body is thriving in your body composition, and what you weigh on this earth is nothing more than gravitational pull. It has nothing to do with your worth. But your numbers are going to look different than my numbers. But the point is that those numbers need to be made up of the appropriate ingredients. Enough protein, enough carbs, enough fat, like you're saying. And it's not enough to just find your maintenance, which is very difficult to even do accurately, and then just say, well, I'm going to do 1 gram of this and 1.5 of this, and then use the leftovers for this. That is the gross oversimplification, because no one wants to have these conversations with you because it's complicated. It's nuanced, and they need to actually care enough about the nuance, not about the dollar that they're getting, right? So I love how your book lays this out and gives women the permission slip to question the mainstream narrative and question what they've been adopting as their own belief system around what their numbers are supposed to look like, right? And how to, like, what would be your answer to someone who is really, really scared? Because I deal with this a lot with clients. They're really, really scared of the numbers I give them. They feel like they're going to get fat. They've never eaten that much in their life, they think, and they think that they're going to get fat and it's going to do exactly the opposite. What would your response be to a woman who is just terrified of what her numbers should be looking like?
Someone coming from a low carb approach, or someone coming from like the standard American diet that is trying to yo-yo diet her way through to health? Because those are two different things.
That's true. No, that's true. Let's keep it on the low carb approach right now.
Of course, that was my main fear. I had tried so hard to lose the weight. I finally lost it on low carb. What am I going to do? Good news that I didn't lose, I didn't gain anything. So it's possible, but that's not what I would say. I would say, yes, you will gain 3 to 5 pounds because of glycogen and water.
Yeah.
So expect that and consider that as a hug to your body. That's how I feel. Like I'm actually giving compliments every time I eat. I'm being loving to my body. I'm giving my body hugs and kisses and compliments and nourishment, just like in a relationship, right? And I would say, don't think about the numbers. Think about other ways to determine your state of health. And I go about those things in the book as well. How does your skin, how do you feel? How do you feel when you bite into your food? How do you feel in the morning? How are your bowel movements? How does your face look? How do your eyes look? Are they brighter? Are you happier? Are you smiling more? Are you feeling more energetic, more, in a better mood? This is the things I would just take the numbers of the scale and redirect the attention from that to all these other things that talk about health and wellness and well-being way more than a number on the scale or a size of your jeans. Nobody wants to be fat, and nobody's saying that being fat is preferable. That's not what we're talking about. I'm still actively right now trying to lose 5 to 8 pounds, mostly to just prove that it's possible on a high carb diet, but also for myself, right? But I would say there's so many other things you can be redirecting your attention to and observing about your body, and that will make you feel so much better. And that will give you so much more detail about where your state of health is than if you're, fitting into the size 2 or size 0 jeans.
Yeah, absolutely. The mainstream fits you into a box that's supposed to look like, the cover of Vogue, that coming from the fashion industry originally is not the optimal picture of health at all.
No. And then we are going a society in our society where the pendulum is swinging to the other direction, and people are saying healthy at every size. Don't worry about it. Eat what you want. We can go into that conversation. That is equally damaging to women. Because if you take that sort of frame and apply it to what I just said, how do you feel? How does your hair look? How does your skin look? How do you feel in the morning? It's probably terrible on all fronts on that sort of as well. So the same things we're looking at when you're looking at health, you can look at somebody who's undereating and overeating and realizing they're both terrible for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would even say something that I've witnessed in my career with women and fat loss goals is in Western society, we do have an obesity epidemic, and a lot of that is, in my opinion, an issue with being simultaneously under muscled and over fat. But that is a downline symptom of energy deficiency. We
Right?
see all throughout nature, you guys, that when there is an absence of safety signals from our resources, like what Alex is talking about, where energy is lost, there is expansion, there is swelling, there is inflammation. If you trip and sprain your ankle, the first thing that happens is it's going to swell, it's going to expand, there's going to be inflammation there in part of the healing process and the protection mechanism that our body brilliantly employs in that moment. When a star dies in the solar system, energy is lost, and the symptom of that is expansion. So it's no different in the microcosmic order of our bodies than it is when a star dies in the macrocosm. It's mitochondrial health at the baseline of this conversation. I just lost you on Instagram, honey, just so you know. I'm not sure what happened.
I think my plug was not turned on from the wall, and I had my wire in my phone, but it was not doing anything. I just realized.
Okay, no worries.
Or should we stay here? I'm fine with staying here.
Let's stay here. We're good. Okay. We're good.
I'm so sorry. I had to turn it on from my wall, and I didn't.
You're totally fine. Just to finish my thought, like the mitochondrial health is really you're totally fine. The core of that conversation, the Big is Beautiful campaign that we've seen, the pendulum swing that you're talking about is not the answer either, because that is a symptom of poor mitochondrial health just as much as the symptomologies that you're talking about on the low carb side, or someone who's skinny but is not taking care of monitoring these things either. So this influences our body holistically, systemically, and there is no way to separate it from your ability to, for example, lose weight specifically, if that is your goal. So I even see like the obesity pendulum swinging to try to normalize that as also an attack on health and true acceptance and true freedom, because it's like, well, as long as you're skinny, then we can't see that you're struggling, right? Like it's such a toxic, oh my gosh, like mind virus. If you're skinny, we can't see that you're struggling on the outside. So now we need to normalize that if you're overweight, we also can't think that you're struggling, because there's nothing wrong with either option, right? As long as we keep you in the extremes as women and distracted by everything that goes alongside of those two extreme realities, no one's ever going to find freedom in the straight and narrow on the middle, right?
And speaking of mainstream, we're dealing with people who are talking about balance in the mainstream, right? And I want to make a very clear distinction between how I view balance and how the mainstream views balance, because they're very
tell me about this. Yes, because I love it.
I come up with the term standard American balance, which I think is funny, because that would be the mainstream answer to the standard American diet, which everybody knows is bad. Everybody talks about the sad diet and how it's the Coke and the pizza. And then the answer is, you just have to be balanced. In the mainstream, the balance means eating a salad to counter the Twinkies, eating Diet Coke instead of sugar Coke, and having a grapefruit because you had 3 donuts for breakfast. That is the equivalent of balanced nutrition in the mainstream. And it is nowhere near balanced. Because if you take whole nutritious foods as what your body needs, and you take everything that's ultra processed, denatured, low nutrition, junk, absolute terrible foods, those are not going to counter the other ones. Those are just going to add to the bad. There's no such thing as, oh, you had a carrot, go ahead and have the Mars bar. That is not the balance I'm talking about. I'm talking about macro balance. I'm talking about giving everything your body needs only from whole food sources. Only because, like I said, it's a matter of how you treat your body. I actually had this idea of a while ago about thinking of our relationship with your body as a relationship we are with our spouses or our partners.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's ideal, beautiful, encouraging, loving behavior, and there's fights and bad words. And of course, every single relationship has all of them. But what is ideal?
Right.
Our daily fights and daily, uh, ignoring your partner and icing them out, are those normal, and are they going to be conducive to a loving relationship? No. Are they going to happen from time to time? Yes. Do we want the first category to be the majority of our relationship to signal a healthy relationship? Of course. So think
Yeah.
about that when it comes to food. You want to love your body, you want to show your biology appreciation and support, and stop
Yeah.
micromanaging afterwards. If you eat whole foods and if you give your body everything it needs from the right sources, you have to completely forget about, oh, what is my insulin doing right now? Oh, what are my ketones doing right now? What is my blood sugar right now? Those those are things that are useful in a state of illness. But we want to be
Right.
healthy, and we want to stop micromanaging every single number and start giving our body the tools it needs, and let it do what it needs to be doing, and it will know what to do. It will know what to
Yeah.
do with the fat you give it, you will know what to do with the protein, and it will definitely know what to do with the glucose if you give it from the right sources and in the right quantity. So
Yeah.
that's the balance people are talking about. Is not a balance, is half abuse, half nourishment. We
I
don't want
agree.
that. We don't want that.
Yeah.
That is not balance.
No, we don't. It's like saying, I love the relationship analogy. I use that a lot as well. It's like saying, well, I can cuss my spouse out today because I told him I loved him yesterday.
Correct. What?
What? Yeah. What? And the love languages thing, I don't know if you've ever read that book by Gary
I'm
Chapman, The
familiar.
Five Love Languages.
Yeah.
Like the love languages, for relationships like marriage, for example, like that really does also apply to our relationships with our own body and our relationships with food for sure. And it's just finding like what the love languages of your body are. What is the love language of your metabolism? I would so dare to say it is carbs. That is love
Yep.
language of
Right.
your metabolism, because I have just seen too much data from women that I have worked with. BBT readings, when there is not enough carbs and not enough protein, has its own thermogenic effect for sure. But fat is cooling to the metabolism. It's going to bring your BBT down. So this is why they tell you in the low carb circles that you have to eat more protein, because your metabolism is, like you said, going into hibernation. It's starting to slow down because it is adapting to the signals that you are giving it. And so on keto, which is very heavy in fats, you're cussing out your metabolism,
Right.
and yet expecting her to run hot. So it's like, hello, guys, it's not your fault, but once you know better, you do have a responsibility. Like if you're tuning into this conversation, the scales are starting to come off of your eyes. It is now your responsibility to not walk away and just put your head in the sand. Start asking different questions in order to get different answers. You cannot continue down the path of keto, carnivore, super restrictive, whatever that may be for
Fasting.
you.
We didn't even talk about fasting.
Yeah, fasting, and expect different results than what you've been getting. There is only partial truth down that path for you that's available. And what Alex is saying so beautifully here today, as well as in her book, is that is not the whole truth. We have to talk about this differently. We have to bring carbs back into the conversation. We have to up the calories. We have to look at what I always say, fertility biomarkers for women and men too. But for women, that's our target audience here. Like if your fertility is not being optimized, if that is not a concern for you as a woman, it has nothing to do with whether you want to have more children. It has to do with your health, period.
I am 43. I have a 16-year-old. Nowhere near being in the position to want any more kids at this point. My fertility is very important to me. Every time I get my period on time and it's smooth and it's painless and it's issue free, that is my number one indicator of my health. Also my mood and my skin health and everything. Those are also things that I saw huge improvements in just a few weeks. On the higher carb approach. But yes, fertility is so important. And that 11-day period I had towards the end of my low carb with relentless spotting, that threw me off so much, because my whole life, first of all, somehow I knew not to ever get on birth control. So I didn't have that.
Bless you.
Yeah, never in my life did I start birth control. I had this, there's a lot of things I had a good intuition at the time. And people looked at me like, what are you doing? And we can go over all of those as well if you want. But yeah, not taking birth control was one of those, weird decisions I made when I was 18 years old.
Yeah. That's
So
amazing.
that strange period I had, because I was so in tune with my body and my periods up until then, I realized there's something wrong. And intense cravings I started getting, not for carbs, weird enough, because I probably rationalized those out of my brain, for nuts. Insane craving for nuts. I would eat a whole bag of pistachios. Little things. I didn't lose my hair. I didn't, I think I stopped at the right time before anything bad happened.
Sure.
But definitely, there were definite signs. And I knew the answer if I asked the question would have been, how much protein do you have and how much you're eating? Or you're eating too many tomatoes and too little meat. Eat more meat. Eat more.
Yeah.
I love meat. I eat it every day. I'm not going to eat 200 grams of protein a day. No, I'm not.
No.
Why? Why would I do that?
No. What would you say, like, let's turn for a minute to like dosage, right? So when we're talking about the context of like the low carb, keto, carnivore type protocols, you just mentioned something that I think was really important, that you think you stopped at like the right time before things got really bad symptomatically for you. What would you say would be the appropriate safe dosage of kind of the keto or carnivore style protocols? And what would you say would qualify someone to enter a strategic season of doing a protocol like that?
I was healthy. I've been healthy my whole life. I don't have any chronic conditions. I've never taken medications. So I think I did qualify. I was just insanely inflamed because I was eating terribly. So I think somebody that's healthy in any, by any measurement of metabolism or hormonal health is fine to do it for 3 to 6 months max. If you have any thyroid issue, any metabolism problems, any markers of your cells not properly producing energy, there's a lot of ways you can determine, mitochondrial health, hormonal health, metabolic health. This diet is metabolical. Then I would stay away. Now, if you want to reduce carbs or if you want to reduce fat, you can work with these things. But I think that a body that is overweight, if you just give it the right foods, if you just take out a whole list of things that are so common that I actually include in the list. So honestly, if you go to my list, I have green, yellow, orange, red foods.
Yeah,
as a person coming from any type of chaotic eating, it doesn't matter if it's dieting or not, or standard American diet or up and down everything. Just take out the orange and the red foods in the book. That's all you have to do, because that means you will take out all the burden those suboptimal foods have for your body. You turn around and give it everything it needs from the whole food animal and plant foods I'm suggesting. And I can talk about it. Like, you don't have to buy anything. I can, talk about it right here. But I think just by removing, even not even the orange, just by removing the red foods, which are, first of all, 100% seed oils. No question
Yeah.
about it. Take them out. Don't even look. If a label shows anything like canola, soy, we can. I'm not going to go into the science. You can read Chris Nobu's book, The Ancestral Diet Revolution. Everything you need to know about seed oil is going to be in that book. No question about it.
Agreed. Great
Anything
book.
that's processed or ultra processed, it doesn't matter that it's high protein and low this and organic that. It doesn't matter. It's in a package. It has a long list of ingredients. Take it out. Just eat whole foods. Eat animal foods. Eat meat, eggs, dairy if you can tolerate it. Eat roots, fruit, honey. If you tolerate potatoes and rice, eat that. Just eat one ingredient whole foods. Make your meals with those. And I promise you, just by eliminating those things, you will lose the inflammation, you'll lose the weight, your body will slowly, switch to a more balanced and more, stature appropriate weight naturally.
Yeah.
It will not hold on. You're by just eating the terrible things that are available right now. You can eat horribly on a keto diet. You can eat horribly on a low carb diet. You know what I mean? You get
Absolutely. Well,
horribly on a paleo diet because you have like 1 million tons of nut flours. Those are also very necessary. So try to eliminate anything that's nut flours, nut milks, anything that's fake animal food. Do not even look at it. Soy meat, this, that, all these like heart healthy things. If you see the heart healthy label on a product, do not even look at it. And I know this is like, well, what about the freedom? What about the freedom? This is freedom. Because in my view, food freedom is the lack of fear, but in the presence of knowledge. You can't unknow how horrible some things are for you. And you're not going to want to ignore that just to feel free, because that's just self-sabotaging. Now you know, you are well aware of how terrible some things are for you. The freedom is enjoying everything that's good for you.
Right.
That includes fruit. It includes, sourdough if you want it. If you're not, you can make so many things out of simple one ingredient foods and eat whatever. Make your banana bread. I'm not eating those things right now because I'm trying to, harness a little bit of an energy and lose a little bit of weight. But I know I'm going to make sourdough again. I know I'm going to make banana bread. I'm not going to, eat bread and butter and honey. Those are so simple and so nourishing and so satisfying. You won't need the protein bar and Fairlife this, and it's just not necessary. So just eat whole foods, and that is 80% of where it needs to be.
Yeah, agreed. Beautifully said. You mentioned wanting to partially just to prove that it can be done on a higher carb diet, but your one of your goals is to release a few more pounds. Would you say that that's like your priority goal right now, or do you have a couple?
Absolutely not. I'm losing like 0.6 pounds a week. No.
It's not going to take very long.
Yeah, no, it's I'm not making a priority on that. I get on the scale like once or twice a week max. No, I am just enjoying life. I'm just enjoying feeling good in my body. I'm just enjoying waking up and being hungry. I'm hungry in the morning. What a concept.
I know, right? Like that is not being hungry in the morning is not a badge of honor. That is a cry for help.
Exactly. Yeah. And I love to eat outside in the sunshine. There's a lot of things I've learned in the realm of carnivore that are beautiful lessons. Eat while the sun is out. Stop after sunset. Respect your circadian rhythm. Eat as clean meat as you can. I eat raw egg yolks every single morning. every
Love
morning
it.
with honey.
I love
That's what I eat. I eat fruit and egg yolks and honey. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say carnivores did me dirty. I'm not going to look at meat again because everything they're saying is not 100% wrong. They're
No.
saying a lot of their approaches to food, like stop demonization cholesterol. Yes. Stop
Yes.
demonizing red meat. Yes.
Hmm.
Saturated fat is good for you. Absolutely. We can
Yep.
talk about what foods fats are ideal because we just talked about how bad seed oils are. Yes, eat the coconut oil. Yes, cook with tallow. Yes, eat the olive oil as well, and don't heat it up. I agree
Right.
with so many things from that realm. You know, have the sun on your skin. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
I fell in love with the sun on low carb diet and on carnivore. I just realized how beautiful and amazing the sun is, and I love, taking
Yeah.
my glasses off and walking and looking at the sun at sunrise and the sunset. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
just reject everything from what I learn, but let's gather information from more sources and then realize that the psychology of uh, ketones are superior is not going to serve you. I was called
Right.
a sugar burner in a comment section of a video as a slur. Okay.
Huh.
Somebody says, "You sugar burners, all you do is spread poison in the world." That is an actual conversation I had with somebody.
Oh
They are
my.
building themselves, they're building themselves a pedestal of superiority that is
Right.
so toxic. If you watch a video and somebody alludes to the fact that high carb is inferior, get out of there.
Yeah.
Is this the new way we're dividing each other? Don't we have
Yeah.
enough ways in this country to divide? Now we have to divide into ketone burners and sugar burners. That's some
Amen.
bad. Are you kidding me? It's
Yeah.
true. I was accused of being paid by big companies to spread poison, and yes, nobody that actually looked at my page said that. Just me
No.
saying, fine if you're wanting to survive, but not ideal to thrive when it comes to
Yeah.
ketosis.
Yeah. Oh
You're
my gosh.
spreading poison to the world. That's where we're
Yeah.
at right now in this conversation. We're
Right.
we're from how do I lose weight and lose this inflammation and use an elimination diet to achieve a certain health level I'm striving for. We went from that to you sugar burners, you make me sick.
Right. Right. You can't sit
What?
with us because we're a
Right?
group of mean girls. Yeah.
Right?
It's so sad. It's
Isn't
so
that
sad.
I was initially I was amused. I actually make a
Right.
video about it. I was like, wow, I have made it. I was accused of being
I
paid.
made it.
I made it into the moment you're accused of being paid by big pharma, big this or big
Yeah.
that, you
Yeah.
made it, right? So I made a video and then I realized, wow, this is how we end up shooting each other by
I,
othering each other, by dehumanizing each other, by not
yeah.
even having the patience of a 5-minute conversation to while acknowledging each other's humanity to discuss our ideas
Right.
and our views and not conflate that with your value as a human because
Right.
good views make you good, bad views make you bad. That's where we are right now, and
Right.
it actually infected the health conversation too, not just political, religion, and so forward. We know all too well where we are with those. But this
Yeah.
kind of othering started infiltrating into the health and the women wellness community by other women. I don't want any part of that.
No, I agree. I agree. We've got to, until now, which is why this show now exists, is partially why this show exists. I have carved out like my own corner of the web. And it's not enough to just carve out your own safe space anymore. Like we have to push back and challenge these narratives because they are unapologetic in their psychosis. It's honestly like it is
It's
so toxic. It's
And it's the
scary.
people around us. It's people in my job. It's people on the street. You look at them and you realize I am in a different realm of existence,
Yeah.
mentally, emotionally, psychologically. And it's not even spiritual. I am not spiritual. I am not spiritual by any means. I consider myself very rooted in reality, to my detriment, probably, but that's where I am,
Sure.
right?
Sure. That's fair.
Uh, and I still have so much more affinity with people of faith than with people that reject it right now,
Sure.
because I do not recognize the humanity they're pledging. I don't recognize it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're pledging humanity they don't exhibit. I don't get that. I don't understand that.
The
And the
hypocrisy.
main symptom of this, and you can see that in any conversation, is somebody who's so attached to the ideas that they equate the value of their ideas with their value as a human. So
Yeah.
automatically, when they're gonna meet somebody with a different idea, they have to equate a negative thing to them as a person, as a human. We
Yeah.
need to do a better job of discussing ideas. We need to do a better job, even if there's three people who are being wrong talking to each other. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We're humans talking to humans about things that are outside us, which are ideas, concepts, theories. This is how I was able to quote unquote escape so easily from this
Yeah.
low carb mantra, because I'm not enamored with my opinions. I'm excited to change my mind about things. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what it is. The journey, the truth seeking is what characterizes me, not where that leads me at a point in time, right? I'm not going to be
Right.
attached to even eating apples if I'm presented with more information. I am more than willing to update my book and have everybody re-download the new version. I am happy
Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
it, right? Can we have conversations that leave our value as human beings out and just talk about those? Just talk about ideas, theories. Everything is talking theories anyway, right?
Right. Yeah, I agree. I would even propose the idea that it is because of our unique value as humans that we deserve these conversations to be had,
Yes.
right? Like, the value, let's not assign value to ideas to supersede our value as humans.
Correct. Correct. Exactly.
Because we are intrinsically valuable, we deserve to have these conversations and challenge the mainstream narratives that are being force fed to all of us.
Yeah.
Why does that make, like, why is that being so widely pushed and accepted and used as division tactics? That is what is so concerning to me, that you so eloquently pointed out about the women in this health space
Yeah.
now.
They're
Why are we,
conflating their identity to their
yeah,
diet. That is dangerous. That is so
super
dangerous
dangerous.
because the cognitive dissonance you experience when presented with information that conflates with your is so strong. Your
Yeah,
first your first instinct is to reject that person because you don't
absolutely.
want
It's
to deny your self-worth and you don't want to deny your value to yourself. So
absolutely,
the diet you eat and your value as a person and your identity are two different things. And it's
mhm,
dangerous in politics, it's dangerous in religion, it's dangerous in everywhere, and in women's health too, to
yeah.
conflate our identity with our style of eating. Because then
Uh,
I have to consider what I do superior and what everybody does that's the opposite as inferior. How else would you do it?
yeah, how else
Don't
do
do
you
that.
justify your
Don't
choices? Yeah, yeah,
yeah, don't conflate your identity with what you eat for dinner. And then we
right,
can start having conversation. Definitely don't conflate your identity with how much money you make by convincing other people to eat a certain way.
right.
Okay?
And your
Don't do that
identity,
either.
yeah, don't conflate your identity with how much you weigh on the scale at any given moment of the day either.
Exactly.
Again, it's I see there's just like this what's the word I'm looking for? This epidemic of identifying with all of these fleeting, very narrow, um, unfounded, ungrounded things that are going to lead you away from freedom and liberty and truth and towards slavery, because now you're defending an ideology. You're not really defending you and your own value. You're
defending a dogma.
Yes. And you're just, I mean, congrats. Now you're a foot soldier, you're a pawn.
And if you add the financial incentive to that, you have a recipe for disaster. Because I can tell you for a fact that being in certain programs comes with a good financial incentive to keep promoting those programs.
Sure.
And even if you're not doing it anymore, you have a very good incentive not to talk about why you stopped, because the money will stop. And I was making money from certain codes for certain things. I'm not making that more. I'm not making anywhere near as much money with selling a $20 book. I'm not going to get rich from this book by any means. I could have made thousands of dollars by promoting something that I don't even have to follow to make money out of. That is out of the question for me. I cannot do that, especially since I have so many women crying, saying, this is awful. I have no help. I have no support. I trust nobody. I trust nothing. It's chaos. What do I do? I try doing this and it's hard. I try doing that. I tried asking question. I was laughed at. I was yelled at. We definitely can help each other and we can survive. And I love capitalism. Okay, I do. I love America. I love capitalism. But what they're doing is not capitalism, is leveraging insecurities, leveraging vulnerability and fear. They're creating fear so they can sell the answer to that fear in every single video. Did you know your doctor is wrong when they're saying this? Go to the comments, comment, give me money, and I'll show you what are you doing? Don't listen to your trainer when they say that. Go to the comments and do this, and I'll send you my $1,200 course. What are you doing? Don't make me be scared for my life and my health and my well-being and dangling the solution for $1,000. That is immoral.
I know.
Okay?
No.
We can make money. I love making money. I'm not good at it. I would love to. But I can't. There's no justification for this kind of marketing. I hate it.
Yeah. It's very, very predatory marketing tactics.
Yes.
That is something that I have always had a grievance with in this industry. Again, been here for the better part of 20 years. And through each phase of my career, I have been given the same, what I call bro marketing tactics, in order to make the sale, in order to get the client, in order to sell the program, in order to sell the useless supplements that are so overpriced. The funnel system. And it's
not just bro, it's like boss lady.
Marketing. The boss lady is just as that is the female iteration of the bro marketing tactics. And it's, and I'm not man-hating by saying that. It's just a hyper masculine. Love men. It's just a hyper masculine hijacking of a way of doing business. And it's no different than the sleazy, used car salesman that was really big in like the 70s. People were calling that out. It's a tactic. It's psychological warfare.
The difference with the sleazy car salesman is that you already know they are sleazy. It's universally recognized that you're going to the lion's den. But a beautiful woman on your screen saying, I have your best interest in mind. I have the code that will bring you the happiness, the solution, and the body you're dreaming. And it's only $2,000.
Yeah.
That's different, in my opinion, because you're not expecting to be funneled and treated like a marketing item, because that's what they're doing. They're saying, oh, how many women can we have to get to click on this, and out of those, how many women will comment, and out of those, it's like marketing strategy 101, but it's about women's health, well-being, and self-worth.
Right.
Are we okay with that? Are we sure we're okay with that?
Are we sure?
Are we sure?
Are we even asking the question? That's
No,
the thing.
no, because
I
we're being
don't think,
hypnotized. We're
right.
being
Exactly.
hypnotized by 30-second clips. And
Yeah.
they have an instant response of, oh, what am I missing? What am I
Yeah.
not knowing? And how much does it cost to know? Well, I'll tell you how much. $20.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes, that's a perfect segue. Alex's book is phenomenal, you guys. It's phenomenal. It's a beautiful package, and she has her own voice, her own story, the way that she presents it. There is so much overlap for those of you who are members in my Flex Your Feminine community. There is so much overlap with her protocols and her frameworks and the way that we do things inside of Flex Your Feminine with our Fuel Your Feminine protocols. So I fully support my members, my clients. If you want to support Alex, please do so. The link for her book and her 8-week reset protocol will be in the description box below of this video, wherever you are listening to it. In the replay, you were listening to the replay. And Alex, if you could just share, like, where is the best place for people to find you on social media?
So I post most frequently on the eat.carbs.love Instagram profile. I recently created a Facebook group that is free, is membership free. You just have to purchase the book, and if you resonate and if you have any desire to further have conversations about it, you're free to join the Facebook club. It has like 6 or 7 members right now, so it's just starting. But I want to offer a place for conversation and for troubleshooting with the book and everything else you want to discuss, so we can create a community around food and carb introduction on Facebook. But eat.carbs.love is the main place you can find me. And also the Sweet Reset Protocol, that's the official Instagram page that I post more technical tidbits. But you on the Eat Carbs Love Instagram, you'll find my every single day meals, because I'm posting that again. You'll find what I eat every day, my thoughts about what's going on, my comments. I do responses to different creators online, and my take on that. And we're just eating together, laughing together, and enjoying the sweet taste again. Thank God. I was missing the sweet taste.
Yes, absolutely. Beautiful. I will make sure that all of those resources are linked below so everybody can find you and connect with you easily. Alex, thank you so much for taking the time. I know that we went 30 minutes over what I had asked you for, so thank you for being so generous.
I apologize for everybody on Instagram for falling off.
That's okay. Instagram would have kicked us off at an hour anyway, because they do have a limit. So it's okay. Don't worry about it at all. They can find the replay. But I think this was so powerful. I think we covered a lot. I can already see us doing a part 2 in the future, and talking more about the matrix and those kinds of things that we started to dive into today. But I think this was really, really powerful, and I just really appreciate your time and the work that you put into that book. Reading through it, I can just feel your heart for women and for the freedom that you want this message to introduce them to and help them achieve. And so our missions are really, really aligned with women. And I just want to thank you for putting your work out there and putting in the work to write that book, because I know that is not some small, that's not some small task. So it was beautiful, and it was very well done and very empowering. So I just want to give you credit for that. And
thank you.
Again, everyone, just go support Alex, give her a follow, like her stuff, give her some comments underneath her videos, buy her book. You will see more of her. I'm sure we'll do things together in the future as well.
I really hope so.
Keep going, honey. Thank you for your voice and what you're doing online. And we'll keep carving out together and pushing back together against the mainstream, and seeing women break free. That's what it's all about.
I really appreciate your invitation and you reaching out in such a pivotal moment for all of us. I know we haven't touched on many of the things that are happening right now, but I feel like everything that's happening right now is like an engine that's revving up for us. And I'm very,
Yeah.
very happy we crossed paths, and I really hope we will meet again and talk more about food and freedom.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be an ongoing conversation. I promise. I
I
promise.
appreciate you.